Taken to social media because no one will listen to me in real life. Welcome back to Rep Rent Repeat. It is the only podcast where the home gym addiction is celebrated, it's justified, and occasionally maybe even diagnosed as a clinical condition. It is brought to you by Garage Gym Radio. So if you like it, you should thank them. And if you don't like it, well, I don't know, drop a comment or something like that. Let them know that too, I guess. I don't know. Maybe fuck you. Anyway, there's a lot on the agenda today. So let's dive into this week's community spotlight, which is really just a veiled self-serving FOMO glimpse at other people's stuff to look for things that we don't need, but we might just want to buy it anyway. All right, big shout out to Daniel, aka Home Gym Hypertrophy. And he slid into my DMs at Man Who Parks and Gym asking if he's reached level 4. Now, if you listened to, I think it was a couple episodes ago, or probably last episode, I don't know, previous episode where we talked about different levels of home gym. I have to kind of hijack this segment real fast and correct myself on that one. In that episode, we talked about 4 different levels, right? So level 1 was kind of your basic bands and dusty dumbbells or something like that. And then level 4 was this kind of dream state where you have this whole separate outbuilding just filled with incredible machines or whatever else it is that your heart desires in there. And it's this own separate space. Someone kind of pointed out in the comments, and I totally agree, I missed a step somewhere in there. There should be, whether if it's, 5 levels or there's like a 3.5 between 3 and 4 or something like that. But there is this stage where you basically you've gone through all the buying and selling and trading and upgrading and all that kind of stuff to a point where you kind of have all of your things and there's really nothing else that you need or want or whatever in terms of like getting your basics plus. And then you start taking the things that you have and you slowly start upgrading, right? So you've got a leg extension. It's maybe the Titan plate loaded one or something like that. And you replace it with a nicer version of something else, and you've gone through and now you're at this place, and that's somewhere in between, right? So anyway, just wanted to point that out and kind of foot stomp that. Foot stomp? I don't even know where I got that expression from or how it's relevant here, but I'm not. Anyway, my point is, Daniel, element of the spectrum you're on with it, I would say level 4, level 3.5, whatever, you're up there. You've achieved it. Okay. So let's take a look real quick. For those who are watching along, you'll see on the screen here, we've got Daniel Home Gym Hypertrophy. This is his home gym hub feature. Daniel is in Australia. He's a competitive powerlifter, and he has, you'll see, a ton of ATX equipment along with some other things as well. So I'm looking in here. It looks like, okay, yeah, zoomed in. So we're looking at, I'm seeing a power rack here with, looks like a Smith maybe built into it. This bench is interesting. I can't tell from this angle. It's not the ATX. ATX has, I think they call it the Warrior bench or something like that. I've talked about it before. It's kind of like AbMat recently released this ROM pad that does kind of a similar, it's like an attachment. Side note here, sorry. The ROM pad kind of makes me laugh, which I like it. I bought it immediately. I've been waiting for it. I talked about it on a previous episode. It was a collaboration they did with Justin, or what's his name? Ryan Humiston. Anyway, I think I've been saying that these 11 or 12-inch benches and stuff are a little bit wide for everything except for maybe a flat bench for as long as I've had one of those. Like as soon as I got the rep bench, I started complaining about how wide it was. And I thought I was alone in this. Now it feels like we've all got these wide benches. We talked about how much we love them and all that stuff. And now we're all buying this ROM pad thing, or we're seeing these other benches like this. This looks like it could be one of those where it's narrow through the shoulders. I don't know if it's arched or rounded like the bamboo bench, which has been out for like a decade or something like that, or whatever. Now I've also seen Donnie Thompson has teased a bench sort of like that, where it's like rounded instead of fat pad or something. Anyway, I just think it's interesting. It's kind of another shift in the home gym equipment stuff, like we have talked about before and might even talk about here again in a minute. But anyway, I see that. I don't know what bench it is. I don't know if it's rounded or not, but it looks really cool. That on the wall there, is that, Daniel, is that like a Rhino type setup, or is that like a belt squat? It's hard to tell from here. It's covered. It's got a flat bench in here too. Like I said, he is a competitive powerlifter. This is probably where he does that stuff, prepares for that stuff on. It's got a lat pull down, which is pin loaded. Awesome. I see a low row there with looks like the prime handle, could be the prime. This is the only thing, like the prime handle and the Amazon knockoff version of the prime handle. I've done a post on this in Instagram, which is like the worst place to put useful information because it's impossible to find it again later. But this 3-in-1 or 4-in-1, whichever one this is, I get them confused, but they have a 3-in-1 and a 4-in-1, and they basically look the same, but one of them has 3 different settings and the other is 4, and then they come in different widths or whatever. But the knockoff version on Amazon, this is one of those that I'm like, man, if you want to buy the prime, if you just want to buy it because like things like IP or because it's made in America or because it has the brand name logo on it, no judgment or anything like that. I mean, I have it too, but the prime knockoff, I mean, the Amazon knockoff on those is so well done, so well mimicked that it's, and the price disparity is so huge. I mean, it's like $30 or something like that for their cheapest one versus like 100 and something, $120 or something like that from Prime. So you really got to want it to overlook that one. I think that's where people put their money where their mouth is whenever they talk about how they'd rather support a U.S. company versus an Amazon knockoff or something like that. Anyway, also looking over here, I see several specialty bars. Got a trap bar, SSB. And then this looks like it's like a glute bridge machine. That thing's pretty sweet, man. I would love to have a dedicated space for something like that. I just don't. I recently got from Bodycore has like a really nice, they call it the bridge bench. And they have one of these machines like what you've got here. We're looking at, like I said, it's one of the standalone machines for doing like hip thrusts or glute bridges or whatever. You load the plates on this, you get on it, and it's got a back pad that kind of swivel on a swivel and a foot plate that's at an angle. And you get a full range of motion. You don't have to, you know, belly up to it and roll a weight over your tummy and all that kind of stuff and get in and out of it, and that the pain in the ass that anybody who's ever done one of those like on the edge of a bench or something like that, even the ab pad thing for me on my rack, there's just things get in the way. There's like I've got pulleys on there. It's just not ideal. So if you're going to do those, something like this would be great. It's kind of an underutilized exercise, especially in commercial gyms, because they're just awkward as fuck to do. The bridge bench from Bodycore is really nice. It weighs like 80 pounds. It's not as good as a standalone machine like this. You still have to roll the weight up to you, or if you have a Smith machine, you can do it on that or something. But anyway, see, looks like a leg extension. I don't know if that's a leg extension, leg curl, or if it's just a leg extension, but either way to go on that. You can't really have any of this other stuff without getting one of those first. That's my scientific proven law of home gym. Can't very well bring in any of these. Well, I guess you could do a lat pull down before you brought in a. I mean that those two would maybe be interchangeable. I think people would probably do that first. So anyway, let's move to the next picture and see what we got. So here I mentioned earlier he has a lot of ATX stuff. This back row machine here, I don't see this on the website currently. I don't know if this is just something that, I don't know if it's an older unit or if it's something that's only available like in the just not available in the US site yet, but it looks really good. I like that you can raise and lower the seat and adjust this chest pad. So I think you'd really be able to hit your back in a lot of different ways. Now, I don't know if Daniel is just incredibly strong or if this thing is a plate eater. I see it looks like a lot of plates on there and even more room on the, maybe it just has a lot of, I don't know. I'd be interested in knowing if you're just freakishly strong or if that is a plate eater. I don't know if that's freakish. I'm not going to give you that much credit, buddy, but that there's some weight just chilling on there. And I don't know if that's like where you start. Anyway, also I see cardio equipment here. Those bikes can be freaking brutal. Generally with these, he's got one of these fan bikes. I think it looks like not the Rogue one, but the other one. I can't think of what it is. Anyway, those are really not made for just putting in 30 minutes or on the fan bike. Usually with those, you're doing like hit type stuff, which is, if you do it right, incredibly exhaustive. I mean, let's face it, let's be real. For powerlifting, tying your shoes can be exhausting, right? Just leaning down and tying your shoes is exhausting after all the golden corral or whatever you're you're feeding between your lips or whatever. But that hit type training on those things can be absolutely brutal. It looks like another back machine there, and I see a converging chest press. Looks really interesting. I don't know what model that is. A converging chest press looks to be pin loaded, and it looks pretty sweet, man. That's the thing I feel like I miss the most right now from the things that I have on the way and the things that I've already got and stuff. Like I still don't have something that really satisfies a good converging chest press. And this one looks like it could be a really good one. I wonder if it's adjustable for like incline versus decline and that kind of a thing. So looks really good. I like this setup. This is one of those home gyms that I've looked at. Okay, we got more cardio. Here's dumbbells. He's got a GHD in here, a really nice one at that. I don't know if that's, it looks like a really nice, it looks solid and sturdy. It's got band pegs where you want them. It's made out of 3x3 or maybe 75 by 75. See another, this is like a spin bike. He's got a treadmill with a TV in front of it. Guess this is where he's watching Rep Rant Repeat. Then we've got leg press, also leg press hack squat. I think you've got legs covered, buddy. Functional trainer. Those are another one of those kind of staples, I think. I've always been really big on cables. So I think that with the cable loaded power racks and things like that, it is pretty clear to me that a lot of home gymmers today also prefer cable workouts. The cables are something I will use every single workout, not every single exercise, but every workout will have some degree of cable in it, even on a leg day. So definitely love this setup. So for those who are not watching the video, it's essentially, it looks like, I think it's like a back patio, covered back patio that's been maybe enclosed in. So there's a lot of exposed brick. And then he's got this kind of roll up garage door type situation. And walking out of it, looking out of it and stuff, you can see, you walk out past some machines and stuff. There's some open area there with greenery, plant life and stuff. He's got a little runway of turf, probably does some kind of sled pushes and things like that on it. And then a little area, sitting area back there. It's just a really, looks like a nice place to work out. It's like peaceful, serene. I don't know what weather is like there. I've never been, but it looks like a place that you want to work out. I really do like this gym. So Daniel, thank you for sharing that. Like I said, man, we've got a bunch of ATX equipment, that converging chest press that makes me want to move across the world to try it out. Regardless, whatever, Daniel, your gym is next level. I think that you're going to be a killer resource for most of us once ATX really launches here in the States. So if you're not following Daniel, like I said, home_gym_hypertrophy on Instagram, he's your go-to guy for stuff like that. So speaking of unexpected fame, our guy FigJam recently found out that not only is his gym featured online, but he himself appears on the Taobao website. So Taobao is basically, it's like Chinese, well, it's like China's version of Temu or Alibaba, except I think Temu and Alibaba are also China's version of Temu and Alibaba. The difference is that Taobao is banned in the US for reasons like, well, counterfeiting, stuff like that, right? So let's take a look. Hold on just a second. I pulled these pictures. I stole these pictures off the internet. So we could look at them here. So let me share this. For those who are watching, you see, this is just a screenshot of what we all know is FigJam exerciser chips, bright lime green Rogue rack, and it is on the Taobao website, right? So you can see there, they're using this as like their model for their version of a 3x3 1-inch hole power rack that looks very similar to a Rogue, but for whatever reason, it's got Chip's gym, and there's no mistake in it. I got a couple of pictures here. Let me switch over to another one so you know. Okay. In case there was, let's go to this one here zoomed out a little bit more. So now we're looking at another image of the same, right? It's clearly Taobao website. It's showing how, I don't pretend to know what that says. I'm guessing it's a price and probably some really compelling sales pitch about why you should buy this one and how it's better and that kind of a thing. But it's zoomed out a little bit. So we are looking at this angle of Chip's home gym where you can tell clearly there's the Carolina Panther. There's all of I see his beater bar in the back. There's all the things that we looked at when we did his community spotlight previously. And then I got one more here just to kind of just drive it home. This one, in case there was any confusion or disagreement or whatever about whether or not that was his, well, okay. There is a human in this ad who looks an awful lot like Chip, right? It could be a counterfeit. This might be like Taobao Chip, right? But and the reason why I'm skeptical is because he's not wearing the tiny shorts, right? He's wearing pants. I don't know if can anyone honestly say they've ever seen Chip wear pants in his gym? I haven't. I only ever watched the videos. Maybe I'm telling myself here. I only ever watched the videos with the tiny shorts, the tiny little shorts matching his rack on Mondays or whatever. Anyway, so congrats, Chip. You've officially gone international, possibly illegal, but whatever. Pretty cool, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, but thought it was funny. Thought I'd share it for those who hadn't already seen it. All right, next week, I'll spotlight our friendly neighborhood lifter who also tagged me at Man Who Parks and Gym. I only got 2 tags since the last episode, so we're going to try it this way, see if I can stretch it out a little bit. And as a reminder, you can send me your pics or video footage or just whatever home gym stuff directly through my DMs, either at Rep Rant Repeat on Instagram or Man Who Parks and Gym, also on Instagram. You can tag me in any feature that you've been participated in, whether if it's Home Gym Hub or if you've had like a Massonomics gym tour, or if you've ever done just a gym tour of your own on YouTube or something just let me know where it is. And really it kind of lets me know that I have your permission to share your stuff on my channel and that, or my podcast thing here. And that way I don't have some weirdo coming up to me, getting all mad because I stole his content or something like that. Anyway, whatever, man. It doesn't really matter. Just for now, let's talk about some upcoming chaos in the home gym world. Okay, Halloween's creeping up, which means home gym con tickets are about to rise faster than your heart rate on a stair stepper or a Jacob's ladder. Do you ever use one of those things? They're so good. I would love to have one of those. Anyway, after that is going to come Black November. Remember when that used to be Black Friday? Then I guess maybe companies just got really greedy. They started pushing it back, and now it's become an entire month, Black November. So it's that magical time when we all sit on the toilet, scrolling through the rogue sales, wondering why we would ever need a third adjustable bench, but it's $50 off and you deserve it. So anyway, I wish I had some real insight on what's to come for November. What I do feel confident to say is that whatever sales are announced, they don't usually get better as the month progresses. So it's definitely not the time to hold out if there's something that you have your eye on. I mean, at least not in my experience anyway. So, all right, enough of the spooky season talk. Let's get into some shiny new toys. Okay, my guy Yoni at Temple of Gains just launched the Quad Send on Kickstarter, and it absolutely crushed right out of the gate. I think that's awesome to see because he's doing things right. He's not just another white label copy paste machine. He listens to customer feedback. He tries to implement those things. He even goes out of his way to try to make sure that those who bought versions 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, where he can, he'll retrofit those things back. I've seen him do that on a couple of machines. Most recently on the Quad Send, I actually used that thing at Home Gym Con. I thought it was really cool. I loved it. So I'm super pumped to see these things as they start popping up in the wild. And while we're talking about clever design, let's talk about mirrors and metal. Okay, I don't know. I didn't really have a clever segue into this, but I wanted to talk about the Vesta magnetic mirror. I don't remember what it's called, Pioneer mirror or something like that. I don't know. It's pretty cool. I mean, if you're like me and you like to see your gains in real time, or your results in real time, it's kind of like, it's not a real like glass breakable shatter mirror or anything like that. It's almost like a fun mirror. If you look at it weird, it can kind of whatever, because it's made out of this kind of flexible, bendy, plasticky stuff. But what's cool about it is that it's very lightweight. It has these kind of 1.5 inch or so round rubber kind of feet on the back side of it. That's where the magnets are. And you can stick it to things that are metal like magnets do. But what I do is like in my gym out in the garage, whenever I'm lifting, we did that kind of walkthrough or brief walkthrough thing. And you saw I have a few mirrors in there, like this big wall, giant mirror thing, pretty giant for me. It's nowhere that I am whenever I'm lifting weights. I've also got two other mirrors that were repurposed from somewhere else in the gym on each of the doors and the closets in there. But again, there's one of them that like, if I'm on the leg machine, I can open up that door and tilt it at an angle so I can see myself from the corner, like a weird 45-degree angle. It doesn't really do anything for me. For me, if I'm going to look in a mirror using that machine, I want it right in front of me so I can look my quads in the eyes as I'm punishing them with this machine, or, so I can see what a bitch I look like whenever the pain starts to set in or whatever. But I just don't have enough mirror space in there to be able to really see things from every angle that I want while I'm doing that. And I know not everybody likes mirrors and not every movement needs them, right? Like squats. You don't want to use a mirror for squats. At least I don't think you do. You do whatever you want to. Fuck you. But the thing about squats is that you should really get, especially if you're going to do something like competitive lifting or something, you want to know by feel where you're at in terms of your depth and things like that, right? You want to get that motion down that way, not look at a mirror, watch yourself in a mirror. But you can do whatever, do what you want to do. It's your home gym, right? But I'm talking about like things, I don't know, man. I don't know what it is. I really, and I know I'm like telling on myself, you guys are probably making fun of me. I don't really care. Whatever. I'm talking to myself on a podcast here, to like 8 of you. One of the things that I really do like, what really kind of motivates me to get back in there every day are these like upper body days where I get a good pump. When I get to this point in my workout where I have a really good pump and I can see the separation between like my shoulder, my chest, and the little bitty bitch ass thing that I call the traps there. There is a perfect kind of moment in lighting and angle and pump where all that the synergy of those three things come together and I feel like I have made progress. And when I'm doing an exercise, sometimes even like a chest fly or something like that, if I have a mirror there, I can kind of see, I don't know if this is right or not. I don't know if it really works this way, but if I can see the muscle flexing a certain way, and if I can see more like striation or more kind of separation here at this angle versus another angle, I feel like I am probably using that muscle better in that angle and stuff. And I can see it better in a mirror than what I can feel it with my eyes closed for some reason. Again, I don't know if that's how it works or not, but there's a mental aspect for it for me with that. And so with this mirror, sorry, that tangent I went off on about a mirror, why this mirror is cool. It's lightweight. I can move it around. I've also been using it inside the house. I recently received the Spediance Gym Monster 2 after having met them at Home Gym Con. And I am exclusively using that thing inside my house right now. I don't have mirrors in the room there with it. It's in my study. It's not in a gym setting. And so I can bring that thing in and I can kind of move it around and put it in places where I can use it with that also. So I think that's really cool. I thought it might be something. I don't have an affiliation with Vesta. In fact, from what I understand, so I did the thing, I've talked about this on other episodes before where I reach out, I'm looking for somebody that does have an affiliation before I purchase things so that I can throw a bone where I can. Luke's Garage Gym has one or had one. We had to dig pretty deep. Actually, I deployed the chat from it and I asked a group of fellas who are probably listening to this. Coach Carp was one of them who actually found it buried deep in an old post or something. So when I had reached out to Luke's Garage Gym, I did use his link, but he told me that he had taken all that down because he had some issue with them not paying what he was due on some of his affiliates and stuff. So I don't know anything about Vesta. This isn't, again, it's not I like the product. I think it's cool. It's made for their stuff, but you can use it for others too. And it's just one of those companies you just don't see or hear a lot about. So I thought I would bring that to your attention if you're interested in something like that. It's modular, it's magnetic. And like I said, it's actually pretty awesome. Anyway, the way I see it, if you can't see your gains from every angle, then do they even exist? Yeah, I didn't think so. Okay, next on the agenda, we're going to take a look at the Porter Eclipse Grip Tri-Fighter. Now, this is a collab that he did with WM Fab. This, I think, is a pretty great example of the market shift we briefly referenced in the last episode, right? So this wasn't that long ago that we were proudly defending why we needed 9, 12, or 15 barbells that served the same basic function. And that's not judgment. Some of us are still totally into that. But with all these cable loaded racks, I think a lot of us have moved from hoarding barbells to collecting attachments like their Pokemon cards, right? And with that shift, we've gone from spending or justifying spending $3, $4, $5, and $600 on barbells to spending a few $100s on kind of specialty cable attachments like this one. So those of you who are not watching on YouTube or on Spotify, we're looking at a post from Porter recently where he's showcasing several different uses that he's found for this new Tri-Fighter, right? This is using the same grips as the Eclipse grip. Is essentially, it kind of looks like a low row handle. The difference here is that it has in the center of it, it's got this kind of L-shaped bracket that is cross-drilled with 6 or 7 different holes, maybe 5 or 6 different holes. I don't know. And it's kind of at, like I said, it's like an L shape, right? Looks like 5 holes, 3 and 5. Yep. Welded in the center there, and you can use it to do things. He's using it for hammer curls. He's using it for triceps. He's using it for low rows, things like that, right? Now, also along the width of it, there are a couple of different holes where you can adjust the width of the handles themselves. So looks pretty cool. I suspect that the handle, I mean, like I said, the handles are the same as the Eclipse grip. So those have been really, really highly accepted in the home gym space, as touted as goated, things like that. So I suspect that the attention to detail here will be the same as with the other things that he's released. And again, it's not always about, do I need this, right? It's just, how can I justify needing this, right? This is the stuff that we do here. Now, I can get down with that. So here's the Tri-Fighter. Like I said, it's a collaboration between Porter and UM Fab. I think it's pretty cool. What do you guys think? Something that we need, something that we need to justify needing? I don't know. Moving on to something else. Like I said, I think I was sharing. I meant to share. I don't know what it is. I keep getting defeated by this program that I record these in when it comes to screen shares. It used to show me the screen share. Now it doesn't show me the screen share. And I don't realize it until I'm midway through it. And I'm just like, whatever. So hopefully you got the screen share. Okay, let's move on to something else. I want to talk about a little bit about, since renovating this little podcast studio, I've realized that there's really almost no, I don't even want to say, there are no good gym adjacent, like art or gym style decor out there. Everything I found was just douchey, right? No offense if you're into that kind of thing. It's just not my brand of douche, right? So the trefoil knot, though, from Black Widow, this was something that kind of, I had made a post about needing some kind of vintage stuff, needing help finding some things or whatever. Dean saw an opportunity in my space and he was like, dude, I have just the perfect thing for you, right? And you could see back here behind me, for those who are looking there or watching, there's this trefoil knot from Black Widow, right? I'm like, grab it real fast. It's pretty fucking sweet. Oh, man, this feels like show and tell. But I've got this trefoil knot, which Dean welded by hand, right? It's pretty fucking sweet. It's made from 2-inch knurled steel stock and it weighs, I don't know what it weighs, man. It's heavy. I mean, it's heavy enough. It's not so heavy. It's heavy enough that like you could probably kill somebody if they tried to steal your packages off your porch or something like that. But I had him, he did it in raw steel. He said he threw it up at the top, like in his loft, and never really had any use for it. So I'm super stoked to have it in my space. One of a kind. The only thing, at least for now, my hunch is when people see this, and this is how I display it on the shelf, right? It's pretty fucking sweet. I mean, I've had things throughout the house, like these spin lock collars that you see. I've had these kind of as like bookends on shelves in my house. I can sneak these little gym jewels, these gym gems into my house and undetected by my wife, because I've got a little bit of like kind of industrial styling throughout the house here and there where I can. But this thing, I mean, it's like, not only does a trefoil not have other meaning outside of gem that you can display in your home. I mean, it's my wife has a tattoo that looks like this. So I don't know. It's really, really cool. It's one of those things that just kind of happened and I'm super stoked about it. I think that this type of thing should be more prevalent. Cool shit like this. That's not, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's, like I said, it's solid. It's 2-inch knurled steel. It actually looks kind of classy in my opinion. And if you look at it and you can see, it says, I lift and I have taste. I'm deep and I'm the protector of my family. Even if I hold my barbell with my pinkies out, I will still kill you. Right. Seriously, though, I love this thing. I think it looks incredibly cool. It actually does have meaning and it's a nod to the home gym life. Way more so than any bullshit banner you'll find on Etsy with some half-ass Jocko quote about eating pieces of shit for breakfast or whatever that guy's into these days. And it's going to sit right back there on this in this room until I move it. All right, let's shift from art to architecture because isolation machines have taken over, right? The rise of the machines. People have been throwing that phrase around, and honestly, it fits. Standalone commercial style machines continue to blow up in the home gym world. Force USA just launched their Solitude line, and if you caught Garage Gym Radio with Jake and Mike broadcasting live from Force USA HQ, then you already know. Now, if you haven't, you should check out that episode. They go through each machine and they kind of rank them least to most favorite. Now, I have to say, I had to dig deep on that lineup. I love the look of the machines. You know, black on black is my jam. And there are a couple of machines in this lineup that look absolutely phenomenal for the home gym. The leg extension, leg curl, the pec/rear delt fly machine specifically. Now, you know what? Let's take a look. Let me share the screen here. We'll take a look at, for those who haven't watched, I'm not going to steal all their thunder and all that stuff, but I'm going to go through and give you some of my thoughts on it. And for those who are listening and not watching, I'll try to do the best I can with describing as well. Okay, so sharing my screen. I trust that you can see it. So here we are, Force USA website. Like I said, this is called their Solitude line, and it talks about here, it kind of gives a tagline, a little bit of a sales pitch here about the Solitude series being quiet strength behind the serious training spaces. These are single station machines that each will deliver at least 2 essential movements in one compact design. And it ends the sentence with a little tagline that says 0 wasted space. And I think this is where I was probably maybe triggered a little bit because I'm looking at this thing, right? I don't know. I looked at it and I stared at the catalog of machines after I read that. And after I kind of looked at it, I stared at this catalog of machines through the lens of, you know, the home gymmer, right? This is the home gymmer / self-proclaimed displaced commercial gymmer. I think of myself anyway as the solitude, the strength behind the serious training spaces, right? Like, because I have taken, along with a lot of others, my space into what I think is a different level of a home gym, right? We talk about the different levels of home gym, and the only thing stopping me from being level 4 is that I can't build a separate outbuilding. So I'm doing the best I can in there within the confines of my own reality there. So I look through this. And so here's what we've got. For those who are not watching video and haven't quite seen it yet, you've got an ab back extend. These are all pin loaded machines, mind you, right? So they all have a weight stack associated with them, and they all do look really good. I love the way that the whole series matches, right? It's sleek. I love when companies make a commercial grade unit and it looks intentional. Everything looks like it was made for that machine. Like they're using the oval tubing instead of like 3x3 with cross drilled holes, right? I don't know what it is about that stuff. When I see it like Soren X, for example, it just doesn't look commercial grade to me. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm being too narrow minded here in that, but it just doesn't look very commercial grade to me when they do that. So they didn't do any of that stuff. It all looks like it was built from the ground up. I love the shrouds on these things. They have a really cool, it almost looks like a Cybex or something like that. But I love the way that it just has a sleek kind of Vader look to it. So anyway, here's what they have in the lineup. They've got an ab / back extension machine. They have an abductor / adductor machine. They have an assisted chin up or weighted dips or assisted dips. They have a bicep tricep machine. They have a lat pull down seated row, leg extension, leg curl, leg press, calf raise. Now, remember, this is pin loaded. So it's going to be your horizontal leg press and then the rear delt / pec fly machine. So those are the 8 in the lineup here. And like I said, man, I just stared at those 8 machines that got the green light for their Solitude series. I really felt like there's about 3 of these that I thought maybe kind of made sense, right? For the home gym, right? For your home gym guy, you got to think like we do still have to think about like space constraints for most of us, right? And like, am I going to put this in my home gym? If I'm just going to buy 1 machine, 2 machine, 3 machines or whatever, is this the one? Are these the ones I'm going to get? Or am I going to, I guess if you're really into like me, I'm somebody who I do like for my things to be cohesive and kind of match and whatnot. So maybe there are those that I'm just really in this force ecosystem and I want these machines. But are these the 8? I don't know. You know what I mean? Are these the first? Or how many of these are going to be like the first, second, third, and fourth machines that I'm going to put in my space? If I'm going to do that's kind of where the lens that I'm looking at, right? That I went through. So I don't know. Like I said, I thought about 3 of them, kind of made sense. The other 5, despite the tagline, were, in my opinion, maybe a complete waste of space in most home gyms. But like I said, to be fair, I do think that this lineup, I think they would be really good for like a hotel gym or maybe even like if you have kind of for a professional space, if you have like a studio kind of a thing where you're doing one-on-one training and things like that, and you want a nice looking space, this could be good for depending on your clientele, right? Think kind of hotel gym because it's so broad and vague. A lot of these pieces, I think that most appropriately beyond a home gym, I think most appropriately might be like a retirement center. And I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not, I swear. I just really do think that if you put this set of 8 machines with like something like a C20, maybe a few dumbbells and an adjustable bench in this kind of environment, like a hotel or a senior living facility, you would have a really good setup for that type of environment. Now, when I say senior living, I don't mean like nursing home. Okay. I'm talking like active seniors, retired people who maybe live in a community with a shared facility. You know what I mean? If you're a company who is thinking about making a lineup of machines that cater to the home gym person in 2025, here's where I think you have to kind of put yourself, right? Understand that a lot of people who are building home gyms today are mostly coming from the commercial gym. And what they're finding is that as they continue down the home gym path, there are just certain machines or items that they miss about the commercial gym. The leg extension, leg curl, that's the low hanging fruit, right? That one is pretty much everybody's first realization when they switch from commercial gym to home gyms. How am I going to do leg extensions and leg curls, right? The lat pull down the low row. Those also, when we did this, right? COVID, one of the first things people did was a quick, easy fix for a low or a lat pull down, right? They hung a pulley over a pull up bar and it connected a weight to one end and a post to another, or a bar to another. And that was our COVID solution there. So what I would probably do, or what I would recommend somebody do if they were to compile a list of the top 6 or 8 machines to offer and cater to the home gym crowd of today, is just go to a commercial gym, go to several commercial gyms and look at the machines, find the ones that have the most use, look at the people who are using, or, machines that people are waiting to use, or look at people who are using the machines. Do they fit your demographic, right? Stuff like that. I mean, again, I'm not talking shit, but I swear to God, I have never been to a commercial gym where the assisted pull up or the ab and low back machine, or even the pin loaded horizontal leg press were among the top machines that anybody was ever going to wait around to use. And those who did use those machines, well, they're old people, man. You know what I'm saying? Like it might be why I'm saying that this lineup would fit so well in those facilities that I mentioned earlier. I'm not talking shit about them. I think they're great looking machines. I just don't know that I don't know that this is where I would go to and say, here are the machines that this is where you should go to for this ecosystem here. Again, if you have a rack and you're just looking for like 1 or 2 machines, this might be really good for that. I just don't know The pricing on them is good. Am I being too harsh? Let me know. Tell me, what do you think? Am I being too harsh on this? Am I being too narrow-sighted here for the home gymmers? I don't know. Let's move on. Let's talk about moving heavy equipment when you're alone in your home gym, because that is something that you're going to have to do if you end up ordering these things or any other. So, right, painting a picture here. You bought the machine of your dreams. Now what? Right? You're standing there, you're staring at it, you're thinking, how the fuck am I supposed to move this thing? Right? Before we do that, before we get into that, let's acknowledge a few truths. Okay. If you're in a basement, you already know your pain, right? You've got low ceilings, you've got narrow stairs. There are disassembly puzzles you have to try to solve for. You basement lifters are basically Jim MacGyvers, right? Or MacGrubers, if you ever watch Saturday Night Live. So, by the way, shout out to No Way Jose and Keith's No Wine Cellar. These guys are absolute masterpieces of stubbornness and creativity. But don't tune out if you are a basement gymmer. If you've got extra tips, drop those in the comments. Let the rest of us know, what are we missing out on? What am I getting wrong here? What did I miss? And for the rest of us garage folks, let's just assume that the delivery guy just dumped a giant pallet right in the middle of your gym. Okay. So you're in this pallet predicament now. Okay. Sometimes getting it off of the pallet is deceptively easy. Like you just wriggle the thing loose and it just comes right off of there. Sometimes it is a full-blown physics experiment. Okay. And for the record, just sidebar here, Atlantis doesn't even use pallets. They just toss your $12,000 machine on a truck, bareback or raw dogging it, if you will, and then ship it with nothing but a receipt and a prayer. So yeah, good luck with that. But on the plus side, I guess you don't have to figure out how to get it off of a pallet or worry about how to get rid of the scrap wood. I don't know. Anyway, let's get a little bit more practical here. Here's my unofficial list of gear that's saved both my back and my sanity when I'm moving gym equipment, whether it's off of a pallet or even thereafter. All right, so furniture sliders, perfect for machines that are in the range of about 400 pounds or so. Okay. On stall mats, moving gym equipment around can be kind of difficult. Furniture sliders make that easier. They're cheap. They're effective. I'm talking about those little, they're like plastic pucks. On one side, it's like foam. On the other side, it's kind of a hard plastic. You just, lift up as best you can one corner, put one corner in at a time, and then you can slide that thing around pretty easily. Okay. Those are, like I said, cheap. They're effective. One tears up, you just throw it away and replace them. They're not that big of a deal. Now, another thing that I've used are furniture dollies. Okay. Furniture dollies, they come in different varieties, right? So these could be hit or miss, but when they work, they really work. Okay. The furniture dollies I'm talking about so Amazon is a good source for a lot of this stuff, but you'll see on there are some that are like 6-inch by 6-inch squares or maybe bigger, 8-inch by 8-inch, a couple of different varieties there. And they'll have either 4 or 5 wheels on the bottom of them. The problem with those, and they can work with some machines, any of these things, whether if it's a method or it's a tool that you're using, really going to kind of depend on the machine itself, the design of the machine. Where is the weight distributed? Is it plate loaded? Is it pin loaded? How low is it to the ground? Things like that are all considerations because the shape of the machine and stuff like that. There's really just, a lot of different ways to skin a cat. I don't know if you can still use that expression in 2025 or not, but anyway, with the furniture dollies come in a couple of different varieties. Like I said, wooden with carpeted tops. I've used those for machines that weigh 600 and 700 pounds. But again, just depends on the weight distribution. My buddy just used a set of those to move his HLP. He did remove the weight stacks to do that. And we'll talk about moving stuff like that with some other things here in just a second. But he just removed the weight stacks quite simply, lifted it up with a toe jack and put those under it, and then was able to just wheel it around his gym. It's nice when you can do that. Also, are car dollies. I've used car dollies. So like when you're taking it off, I've used car dollies, removing it from a pallet. I've also used it after it's been removed from a pallet, just to move it from across one side of the gym to the other. But on the pallet, what I do is like kind of wriggle it as best I can. Sometimes you have to tear wood out from underneath it to get under a foot while one foot is kind of suspended, and then you can slide a dolly under it and again, use some leverage or whatever you can to kind of move that machine off and onto a dolly and do that 1 foot at a time. But the car dollies are made for vehicles, right? I've used like a scrap of stall mat to throw on the top of it just to kind of keep the machine from sliding around on it and keep it from getting scratched up and stuff like that. But the car dollies have like a valley in them, and they're made so the tire can go in it, and you put one under each tire, and then you can push a car around. So obviously, if you can get your machine on some car dollies, you'll be able to move that thing around too. Another thing that I've used are machine skates. Those are, depending on the machine, kind of, they can be MVPs, right? For me, moving the Prodigy rack, I've I've got these machine skates. A tip from a buddy, a listener. Machine skates came from Home Depot. They were actually cheaper, by like $50. I think it were $130 or something is what I paid for those. And you get 4 of them with 2 little handles that you hook on them. And look those up if you're not sure what machine skates are. But if you can go to video on YouTube, and people be pulling like tons, a couple tons with them and pulling it effortlessly. I just put those underneath my HLP, fully loaded, had like 1,000 pounds of weights on it, plus the 2 360-pound weight stacks, plus the machine or the unit itself on top of those things, and was able to just pull it out. I pulled it out. I just needed to move it to the right about 12 inches and about 4 inches out. Was able to do that really effortlessly. I think the most effort was really just getting the toe jack under there and putting those things in place one side at a time. But for that kind of stuff, machine skates are great. I've used machine skates to move my my pin loaded leg extension leg curl machine. I've also used furniture dollies to move that thing around. Another thing that I've used or seen people use are just caster wheels, right? Those are underrated. Now, if a lot of machines will have on the feet of them, they'll have a hole. It's like a tab for the foot to sit flat on the floor, and then there'll be a hole, like 1/2 inch or a 3/8 inch hole on that. So if you have that type of a machine, you can just put caster wheels underneath that. Now, with casters, the thing to know is that it's better to buy them too large than too small. You really want to size up the caster wheel itself with the size and weight of the machine. You don't want to just go buy the biggest ones. You end up with like some 8-inch wheels and just overkill. But um, you know, for most machines that you're going to have in your gym, something like a 4-inch is probably as big as you really need. And if you get the ones that are like 1.5 inches or under 2 inches or something, are probably going to be a little small. A 2 inch is probably fine. Anything less than that, I would probably stay away from for most machines that I've moved around anyway. But you just, like, if you're pulling it off of a pallet or something like that, or even if you're not off of a pallet, you just lift that while that thing is suspended from the ground. Like I said, you get the ones that bolt on from the top. You put the bolt through the hole, screw it on there, and then you can just wheel it around. There's actually a guy on Instagram whose entire gym is on caster wheels. He wheels the pieces he needs out of the garage whenever he uses them, wheels them back in when he's done. It's probably a great way to stuff a lot of equipment into a smaller space without having to actually have like floor space. So something else that you're going to need, those are things that you can move them around with. Now, something else that I've used that have come in clutch are lifting straps. The furniture kind, not the kind that we use to compensate for our weak grip so we can deadlift 1,000 pounds or whatever. These are great for leverage for pieces, like not just lighter pieces, but even heavier pieces. Like, for example, the Prime leg press that I had, one end of it was very, very heavy because that's where the foot plate and all that stuff is. The other end, I could pick it up, right? But I can't just I'm not going to drag it across or anything like that. But I'd pick that up, put that end on a furniture dolly, the wooden carpeted kind. And then on the other side, use a lifting strap. It's the ones that go on like on your forearms or whatever. And it gives you wrap it around the machine on a forearm on one end, and wherever else on the other end. And then you can, it gives you some leverage where you can lift it up, takes your grip out of the equation and that kind of stuff. And then you can put it onto, what I've done is lift it up while it's suspended off the ground. I'll take my foot and kick the furniture dolly thing underneath it until I can then just wheel the thing out of there, which is exactly what I did the last time I moved it. Jacks and toe jacks are something that, for things that are too heavy for that kind of a deal, maybe even just too heavy for your own comfort, jacks and toe jacks or something. Those are my go-tos for those really heavy stuff. Really kind of, again, depends on the machine, which one of those is going to work better. For example, some machines are just really low to the ground. If you have a pin loaded machine with a weight stack and you're not going to remove the weight stack or anything like that, you really want to make sure that your jack is underneath that weight as best you can. You know, you want to get it under where the heaviest part of the machine is. That way there's no weird, twisting or anything like that. And it's just going to support it better or balance better if you have it underneath the really heaviest spot. So the leg extension leg curl from Prime is a good example for why it matters which jack you use, because it sits really low to the ground. That beam there where the weight stacks sit, it's less than 3 inches from the ground. I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's less than 3 inches off of the ground. So really, really low when you're trying to get a jack for it. Like a car jack, a standard car jack, even a low profile one is going to be just over 3 inches at its minimum height. And then just a standard is going to be somewhere in the 4-inch realm at its lowest height. So that's something to consider if you're looking at using one of those for your machine. Like, how low does your machine sit to the ground? You can, like, Harbor Freight has an ultra low jack. It's for like racing cars, or maybe it's for like Fast and the Furious cars that sit, low rider type things that sit super, super low to the ground. I think the low point on that is like 2 3/8 inches, and it will fit underneath the Prime machine. I just don't know if it's worth $300 to, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on you, what your budget is, and how often you plan on moving machines. That is a good one because you can get underneath it pretty well and you're back away from it and that stuff. Now, I've been using a toe jack. I got it for $50 on Amazon. It's like 1.5 tons or something like that. And it also has like it's like 3/4 of an inch at its lowest point. The downside of those toe jacks is that they don't have the greatest height. So you have to make sure that you can raise it up high enough so that you can also fit something underneath the frame or underneath the foot or something. And then also high enough that once it's on the frame of the foot that you can lift it off of those, right? So those are your kind of challenges there. And again, it kind of depends a lot on the actual machine that you have. But the point is, regardless of what route you go, there's really no one size fits all answer. But there's always a smarter way than saying fuck it and deadlifting your hack squat across the garage. Okay, so whether you're hoarding attachments, buying machines that barely fit through your door, or just trying to justify another piece of steel to your spouse, you're not alone. This is the rise of the machines, and we're all just trying to move them 6 inches to the left. So if you've got your own tips for moving heavy gym gear, drop them in the comments. Tag me at Man Who Parks and Gym so I can feature them next time. I'm just kidding. Don't forget to subscribe, give her the old thumbs up, and I guess we'll see you next time.